try.
Ooh, baby, I love you, Ray.
Every day.
I wanna be with you night and day.
I'd love to be that guy. I'd love to be the cool, smooth guy who just every time I sing, I go too loud.
I think you just did it.
Give me a song. Give me a song.
Any song?
Which you think I might know the lyrics to, and I'll be that guy.
My neck, my back.
My neck, my back, my pussy and my crack. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always go, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I think you have the ability.
Do you
It's
think
about
you?
lacking the confidence?
Yeah, do you think it's the confidence?
Well,
that's
you
been
said
holding
I
me
wish
back?
I could be that guy, and you
Yeah.
just proceeded to do it.
Maybe I can.
A couple of Rios, you'll be all good.
I have got a Rio. I want to talk about this actually.
Yep.
Because I had a Rio on the weekend.
Oh, and did it change things?
It did change things a little bit. I had a Rio and I had a Lilt. And for me, those two...
Yeah.
Rio and Lilts. Obviously, a Coke Zero is like an everyday thing. You can do... That's not gonna... You don't get sick of those in the same way. But for pure flavour, I think Rio and Lilt are god tier.
Can I have a toast?
Please
I
do.
don't think I've ever had a Rio.
Have you not?
And if I'm
well,
honest,
just
I don't think
read out the fruits. Read out
Read
the
out the fruits.
exotic fruits in a Rio.
Rio, tropical, including the fruits of orange, guava, apricot, mango, and passion fruit in a likely sparkling spring water.
Unbelievable.
Well, here goes nothing. Fruity in the first touch.
You don't really like your fruit, though.
Really good mouthfeel. Great mouthfeel.
It's the spring water for me.
Sticky on the lips, which is what you want from these kind of drinks. 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Have you got a little?
I don't have a Lilt with me. Have you not tried a Lilt either?
No, I don't think so. Is it lemonade?
No, it's not. It's pineapple and something else, fizzy drink.
I'm not really one for fizzy drinks.
No, that's fair enough. I wasn't for a while, but what I've realised, there's many things to thank the Windrush generation for, as we all... But
Yeah.
the Afro-Caribbean diaspora
Yes.
to London has transformed the newsagent sodas. If you look at London's newsagents, the colours on show and sodas, the Caribbean punch, all of that, it's just changed the whole game for me.
Yeah.
And I've realised that I've been living in a small, very kind of closed off box.
If not for the Windrush.
If not
Do you not
for the
think the narrative around immigration is grossly neglecting the effect of the colour of off licenses?
if you look at the average kind of racist person who doesn't accept immigrants,
Which I often do all the time.
Have you seen how, in general, they've sort of left Indians alone?
Yeah.
It took a
Do you
while.
think because of
It's because
the
of curry.
curries?
It's because of curries.
Yeah.
Because the Indians came in like the 60s, I think. Or they were like the first immigrant group that there was a lot of racism towards.
Yeah.
And then racists were like...
And then they tried to boom.
And then they're like, fucking, this is
know
nice. This is nice.
All right,
I
then.
can't lie.
Well-
I want to hate it, but this is naughty.
the best way for a racist to the best way to a racist man's heart is through his stomach.
It's true. So maybe we can try and do that with the
With Caribbean soft drinks.
the Caribbean soft
sparkling
drinks.
soft drinks. No, I don't know. I used to. Do you remember when you were like 13 and you got excited about having a Coke at a restaurant?
Yes.
I miss those days because like going to Arse
The innocence.
Pizzeria and being like,
or going out on the town.
I bet I'm gonna have a Coke tonight. Can I have a Coke, Mum? Yes, you can. And then
Yeah.
I get one. I'm a big fan of pints draft Coke from like pubs. That's a bit.
hate that.
I fucking love them.
I hate
They're
that.
the best Cokes.
See, I'm a Coke fan, but I only like Coke Zero in a can.
Yeah, which is fucking.
That's
disgusting.
all I like. Coke Zero actually tastes
Yeah.
better than Coke now, and that's why I think it's becoming more popular as a drink.
I've stated this before. I'm against quibbling over not important things such as pineapple and pizza, etc. So I want to go into how much of a fucking Nazi you are for liking Coke Zero in a can, but we're not going to do that.
We're not
You
gonna
have
do
your
that.
own personal taste, and that's fine.
You seem very happy about it. Anyway,
Right, should we do it?
let's go straight in.
Today is Wednesday, the 20th, 3rd, 4th, 8th, 9th, 29th. 29th?
No, I think it's 26th. 26th?
28th.
It's 26th. This will come out on the 28th. Sorry, I got caught. This will come out on the 28th.
No, but today.
Today's the 26th. Finally, we had a news story that happened just before the podcast.
Yeah, I know. It would have been a disaster if this happened afterwards.
Yeah.
Today's the 26th of May, Wednesday, and Dominic Cummings just went to a select committee and spoke about mostly to do with COVID. But he spoke for a range of things. He was there for 7 hours testifying. They were only expecting him to be there for 4. I watched every single minute of it. It was the most enticing, enthralling, exciting thing I've seen in my ever study.
Because normally you have just morning TV on while you're working.
Yeah.
So this is just perfect, just on the background.
Was absolutely perfect, but then I didn't do much work today because of how enthralled I was by this.
By
this
history.
Scene. It was history.
It's history in
the
the
making.
making.
History. There are too many. Right. So there's funny parts of it. There's fascinating parts of it. There's important parts of it. And you know what? We're going to bloody talk about every single one of those. So if that's not your thing, then switch off now. Don't. I promise it will get better. So, firstly, he was there. It was a committee, just broadly. It was a committee that's looking into lessons that we can learn about how we've responded to the coronavirus, and then maybe how we can then come forward and use those lessons for the last point of the coronavirus.
Yeah, I love official lesson learning.
Yeah.
I love just collectively, as a country, all of us
officially going
lessons learned.
WWW.
Because the thing is, the thing is that normally when you're learning lessons, there's an authority figure like the teacher who's teaching you the lessons. But there's no higher authority than the government.
That's what the inquiry is them trying to work out what lessons can we learn.
Who's teaching the lessons? Because if you know what lessons are to be taught, then you should be running it. As opposed to us. This wasn't a trial run. Everyone who should know the lessons is in charge.
Yeah, no, it's
true.
true.
If you have a teacher teaching you a lesson, that teacher has still got way less authority than the Prime Minister himself.
No,
now the Prime Minister has lessons to be learned. So I didn't know who. There's the blind leading the blind. It was the blind leading the blind. The taught leading the blind. The taught leading the teach.
Teach leading the plat. So yeah, it was a collective effort to work out what we can do better. What went wrong, even better if.
That would be great if that's how it was
WWEBI at the end. Yeah. So it was Dominic Cummings' time to testify to the committee. And
because he dropped a bomb that he was coming in to say things, or was this already scheduled and he said, I'm going to do mine?
It's been scheduled for a while.
Was he called in?
And he was called in.
Okay, so he didn't say, here's my truth, here's my story.
He was called in, but he's been famously absent from loads of select committees in the past. So it was a bit of... Yeah.
It's vintage Cummings.
In really lame circles. It's famous.
But famously.
Yeah, Dominic Cummings in the political history landscape.
Famously,
I
do not want to be with those guys who go
I'm afraid you're with one right now. So he doesn't go to select committees for various reasons. So the big question was, why this one? But then as soon as he arrived in town, you knew he was there to spit some fucking truth, spit some fire into that booth.
He had a lovely weighted white shirt.
He did, and it became. I thought and hoped that because he undid one button after an hour, then he undid a second after the second, and I really thought we were going to go shirtless for a minute. If he did one every hour, that would be the best way to drop these bombs that he was doing. But so he came in, right. There's a myriad of things. As I say, it was mostly about COVID.
And you watched all 6 hours of this, pretty much.
7
hours.
I watched 7 hours of this, and I enjoyed every last minute.
Did you feel like you were on the select committee?
I did. I did. I paused the TV and went, and now I give my time to Andrew Kerwin, who's a member for London East. Here's your time. Hi, Dominic. Thank you, firstly, for submitting your time to the committee. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you, the committee, for committing
for having me here.
I would just keep thanking.
First off, how are you doing?
I don't think anyone's asked.
No one's asked? You're all right. Everything all right?
Good?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I like to sort of...
Secondly, why do you lie to the British public? So he came on, and it was it was expected to go on for 4 hours, went on for 7, and that was a testament to the fact that he was ready to go out there. It's like he just left a boy band and went out there and exposed all the problems that they've had as a group for the time for their duration, because he's now outside
footballers
of the
leaving clubs. It's an archetype that happens.
But it really felt exactly, and it felt like he was going in there to nail some home truths, and it was like his last hurrah for British politics. He won't be going back. That's it. He definitely won't. So
I don't know, because
we can get into that.
We will do.
But he said at the point, he was asked at the end about that, and he said, you can ask anyone in Whitehall or Westminster or his wife or his family. The less you hear of me, the better from now on. So yeah, he's had a tougher. He's had a stinker. But anyway, let's start with Matt Hancock. There were many things said about Matt Hancock. And the best thing about this was how BBC News were doing it, was that they'd stated the things that Cummings had stated about Hancock, but on top of those quotes was a picture of Matt Hancock just smiling and holding his thumbs up. And this rolled for the whole 7 hours. And it didn't fail to make me laugh once. Every time. There he is. And let's get in. With Hancock, he said that... He basically just called him an incompetent fucking idiot, and he stated that he and several
not even that subtly.
Not subtly.
It wasn't that far off saying you fucking idiot.
It was a fucking diss track. He went in and said several times that loads of other senior officials had said he needs to go. He said that if we don't fire Matt Hancock, people are gonna die. Because it's true. But he literally said that. He said, if we don't fire Matt Hancock, thousands of people will die. And there's a video of Matt Hancock in the morning who he goes on a run and he's asked if he's worried about the Cummings interview, and he just says something about vaccines.
And then runs off.
And then runs off. And it's obviously been memed thousands of times. Billions of times.
It's great. No, it feels like, because the political vibe in this country was sort of dying down with the worst of COVID sort of edging out. So it felt great to have a big final firework.
Oh, absolutely. And like the truth bomb. So part of the reason why this was so staggering is because I've been studying politics. I've learned about these things. I've learned about the things that he was saying in there. And
what things?
We'll get there. But like the whole thing of this was that it was like, there's always seems to be this protected nature. If you're that close to power, that it's not going to be revealed out to the public. There seems to be this kind of universal closed mouth policy about it. Even when you're out of it, it's always, you keep the lid on it.
Sure.
He just blew the fucking roof off today. And there's so many things that what people think are just clearly true.
And things did you not find, I was listening to it, and maybe because it's got, oh my God, I've got it again. Wait, no,
you lost it because you coughed,
yeah. Maybe it's because just it's been so surreal politically. But nothing he said was like a surprise to me.
Just
that he said it.
Just that he's saying it.
It's what we all known that politicians had done pretty much all along.
Exactly.
Apart from, I feel like in the 50s where people thought that politicians, whenever they said something, they just thought...
Okay.
Do you remember? It does seem... Do you know back in the day when it was like a politician said, I do this, and then it wasn't uncool to be like, oh, I believe in him. Yeah, he's telling the truth.
That sounds like an honest man.
That's an honest, good man.
Good policy. But yeah, so it was basically him blowing the lid off all that shit.
Yeah.
But so he said, and just like, because it's like, it was a bit of a cliche, but it was an absolute carbon copy of something out of the thick of it completely.
Sure. Yeah.
But it was just deadpan delivery. It was just like, there's at least 15, maybe 20 reasons why Matt Hancock should be fired.
What did he think?
Yeah, he went with 15, 20 reasons, 20 reasons why he should be fired, and it's astonishing that he's still in office.
Incredible.
And again, Hancock there with the thumbs on the right-hand side of the screen. So Matt Hancock hasn't come out of it very well. But neither did Bojo, basically.
Sure.
So he defended. There was a bit of a defense of Rishi Sunak and Dominic Raab.
Dominic Raab?
Yeah, because Raab stepped up when Johnson was ill with COVID and said he did a very good job and stuff like that. It was kind of odd that he was so defensive of those two.
Because I thought Raab, from, we've got our tabs in Westminster. We know a couple of civil servants.
We got our cats.
Don't worry. Don't think we just make up everything. We have our sources, but we can't. We have to defend our sources.
We don't get our information from the news.
No. Apparently Raab is like considered one of the big idiots.
Yeah, he looks like an idiot.
And because during the Brexit thing, he famously said he only just realised that Britain was an island, and that was like, he didn't really think about that when Brexit was happening, which, you know.
Okay, yeah, that's not great.
Not ideal, but anyway.
But he's honest.
Yeah.
The guy's honest.
I wouldn't have said that.
Britain is an island, isn't it?
He's that kind of, that's quite likeable,
that changes thing, yeah. But Hancock is just clearly the dunce, and everyone hates him.
Sure.
And he's an idiot.
He just seems like an auto-generated private school boy.
So funny. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of garnered this weird little fan base. He's very normal. Yeah, and I think that's why he's garnered this fan base. There's a video of him eating a...
Fan base? He's one of the most hated politicians in the
but there's
country.
some people, like meme lords, who love him because of some appearances.
It's not like Ed Miller did
a bit ironically.
Slightly sincere.
No, because there's one of him eating like a fucking pasty or something on before he went on Good Morning Britain.
Okay.
And then Piers Morgan goes in on him because he finds out, because one of their researchers finds out how many calories are in that, and it was a cinnamon swirl, and he was saying, "Oh, is that good health advice to be doing that?" And he just kind of takes it like a champ and just laughs about it. And people
so we like Hancock.
Or do we?
I don't know. You're sending a lot of mixed messages. Yeah. I don't know what to feel.
Responsible for thousands of deaths. Handles a cinnamon swirl.
He clapped back pretty hard.
He did clap back. No, I think you can love that lovable kind of idiot part about him.
Yeah.
But then when you realise that the lovable idiot is actually, he is just an idiot. So he basically, it was astonishing just to hear him call out like the health secretary and say that this man is completely unfit for office and has no right to be there. And part of his resignation was about saying, I'm not going to stand here with this guy.
So Hancock was pretty much the main idiot.
And Johnson and Bojo. Because Bojo, he said that he realised Boris Johnson was incompetent for government, not fit for government in October of last year.
Yeah.
As in the man physically cannot handle government.
Okay, yeah.
Because it was to do with like us not going into lockdown. So he stated when we had that period where everything just opened up for a bit, and then we obviously had the second wave. Yeah. He was talking about that and saying that was when he resigned. He was saying the really refreshing thing about this whole thing was that he started with an apology from him. From Cummings.
Yeah,
himself.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
He is implicating himself in it as well.
So what I don't understand is, he understands media the better than anyone. So it's kind of hard to know with Cummings whether he's like the most honest guy in politics or the most Machiavellian, manipulative guy in politics.
That man sat there for 7 hours and he hardly stuttered. And I think you can only do that when he's being honest.
Sure, but also he could easily be a sociopath who's built for those sort of things.
But part of it, because one statement he said was that it is crackers, and he used crackers maybe 15 times.
It's 7 hours. That sounds a bit more mental than it is, because that's 7 hours, isn't it?
How many times have you used the word crackers in the last month? It's a strong zero. It's a strong zero. So 15 and 7.
Okay, that's quite
Come
a lot.
on, 15 or 20. But if
I was in front of the select committee...
Yeah, true.
I would probably dip down and get at least 4 crackers out.
Yeah, I think if we were in front of the select committee, we would use some very odd words.
Absolutely's coming out a lot. Absolutely.
Well, absolutely, Lord Cambridge. I believe that to be the truth. So what was I talking about? He said that
I'll just keep saying sorry. I'll just keep saying thank you every time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
I cannot confirm nor attest to that.
Thank you. While they're asking the question, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Honestly, yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Cheers.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Honestly, yeah.
Could you stop? What? Thank you.
Pardon. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. I concur to that. But he said it's absolutely crackers that him and Boris Johnson were able to get to the position that they were in, as in like semi-running the country. He said that's
himself.
Yeah,
he was like, "I'm a fucking idiot."
Yeah. And so at the end, they asked him to like clarify that a bit, because that was a confusing thing. But he stuck by it, because at the end he was like...
He seems very, very smart, though.
Yeah,
and he did do extraordinary things with the Leave
Brexit,
campaign.
Yeah, but I think once it got into the policy of government, which we'll get... That's my last point on it, but which we'll get to. But when it gets to the kind of act of government rather than a campaign, that's where it changes. Yeah. And he said, I think his point is that, he's a political campaign strategist almost, rather than a governor. So, and he believes Boris Johnson is fundamentally incapable to govern.
It's true.
His chief advisor, it was fucking astonishing. But, so he said that, and then he kept talking about this one guy. This is when the War of the Worlds analogy came in, and the Jeff Goldblum thing occurred.
Independence Day.
There was like this, because about that second, where we should have gone into a second lockdown earlier, Johnson just wasn't having it, because he was kind of prioritizing economics over... economics over people's lives, basically. That sounds more washed because recessions kill people too. But just like that was the only important thing. And he said that there was this one guy, I can't remember his name, but he did talk about him a lot, who came in like Jeff Goldblum from War of the Worlds. This is like, I'm not making this up. This is what he said to the select committee just before he did a Spider-Man meme reference and said, this is like War of the Worlds. It's like War of the Worlds where Jeff Goldblum comes in and says, we're completely fucked here. We have no plan for this and we're all going to fucking die.
Yeah, that seemed I only caught bits of it, but he seemed like a big critique he had is that we have so little plans for like rare but damaging events. He mentioned the solar flare plan, which got me terrified about solar flares. What?
I was like, hold on, what is a solar flare? But why aren't we prepared for it?
And he goes like, I looked at the documents we had on solar flares and we had very little. And I'm like, I want to see what they have on solar flares.
The public would be shocked at our lack of preparedness on solar flares. I'm here to whistleblow.
No, but he didn't say we've got nothing on solar flares. He said I looked, we got very little, and I just like that he's gone on the file. There's in the big government computer in the Queen's office or whatever,
like a folder, solar flares.
It's got one sheet.
Oh no!
Which would be like, it will get very hot, so we recommend going indoors.
This is not enough. So the shocking thing of it was that he was saying that there was his big thing was about groupthink that occurs in government. But one of the bigger points in it was that everyone spoke about, people would ask around to say, because the government obviously has to be prepared for potential international global disasters. And you think it's like a plan if any of these things happen. So you think when a global pandemic comes on our shores, that there is a big folder they pull out, how to deal with a virus.
Sure.
And he was just going around Whitehall and Westminster. This plan exists. It just didn't. So everyone was under the impression that it did. And then apparently he got given like a piece of paper, which is basically like a press release for it. Yeah. And he said, so where's the actual report? And then they were like, we don't have one. And that's what actually happened. So then apparently they started making all of these policies and everything in 2 all-nighters. It's fucking astonishing.
Just sinking Red Bulls and just
literally.
Going like...
Apparently, they had to assemble a fucking team, a task force, and in 48 hours, they just went, okay, that's how we're going to deal with this virus.
Fucking hell. Because this era, you know, if the left carry on being like terrible tactically, it seems like we'll have just lots of different eras of Tories. Because we had the Cameron era of the Tories, which are sort of like the boring austerity Tories.
Yeah.
Which were like run-of-the-mill Tories, just being Tories, carbon copy, nothing to shout about, just being Tories. Then we had the crying
kind of
Tory.
brick and cement Tories.
Then we had the crying, screaming Tories, which is the Theresa May short period, which is just a lot of
the country I love.
We had that period. And then we have what I like to describe as the cowboy Tories, which is, it's like a different type of Tories where Boris Johnson came in and he had tiny, squeaky Rishi Sunak. Yeah. He's got Dominic Cummings. Yeah. He's just got a general group of people who seem a little bit more like, we're kind of like...
They're the outlaws in-law.
Yeah. I don't know why. I think that Rio's really so...
That Rio is, maybe cut it out.
I think that's why I can't drink more than one Rio.
Yeah. It's got its drawbacks.
So yeah, I definitely see him as kind of a part of the cowboy era of Tories.
Which I guess we're still in.
Yeah.
But that's with the problems with that was he stated that Boris, because you think obviously coronavirus wasn't that big a deal when it was in Wuhan for us because it's only it's only a few people dying that aren't close to our country. That's a joke. We didn't realize how big an issue it was until it started coming into Europe because
I've heard of that stuff before. I know the media exaggerate, and then that's what I was thinking.
So you'd think that the government might be able to actually fucking realise or have the people in place in the correct positions in order to realise that maybe we should be worried a bit more than we are about this and prepare for this. Boris Johnson's opinion on this was all scaremongering and that he was willing to go on live TV and have Chris Whitty inject him with the coronavirus just to show that everything was fine. That was one of the actual comments that came out of Boris Johnson's mouth before the virus got to the UK. that he would go on live TV.
It's making me like him more, and this is an issue.
It's a problem. Because
that's very likable.
Yeah, when someone goes from like a kind of a conniving evil genius dunce to just full on clown, I kind of want him to stay in power.
Because that is great. That's some Trump level shit.
That is some Trump level shit. But I've always had the opinion that Trump, you can't. It's a bad thing to call people politicians in power idiots because it undermines the severity of their actions.
The kind of the
calculatedness.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think I might be wrong.
They
might
be wrong.
all just be fucking dunces. Because, well, I mean, at the end, because it was interesting seeing him apologising for stuff and taking blame for things and saying he got it wrong as well. Because at the end he was asked, you've given a lot of, like, you've spoken ill of a lot of other politicians. So what do you think, how responsible do you think? What do you think you acted badly as well? And he was like, he said something along the lines of, but he said this about Boris and him. He said, he said this about Boris actually, but he said, if you take the top 1% of the most competent people in the UK, every single one of them will do a better job than Boris Johnson.
That's amazing.
And he said there are thousands of people that could have done his job better as well.
That's fascinating because he was sort of brought in as like the wild card, the maverick, the Paul Gascoigne, the Jack Grealish, if you will. Those low socks showing off his calves. Yeah, he was sort of, look, he's not going to run back and defend. Yeah. But if you need that one mode of magic, which in tournament football it often comes down to, when it's a stalemate and there's that much pressure, sometimes you need that one moment of magic.
That's weirdly what one MP said during the select committee, actually. Yeah, it's uncanny. Sorry,
but outside the window, he clearly wasn't part of it. He was shouting.
It's like knockout football, isn't it?
But then it's in the room.
Excuse me, can you wield your time, please?
Yeah, no, sure, just want to say that. But you're like Grealish, aren't you?
You are. Anyway, sorry, back to the thousands of deaths that occur.
So I always thought, and he clearly has immense talent, and he like stands out as like one of those people who has kind of a little bit of history, who like stands out in history because they're different for some reason, and that's when you're reading about time periods, their name sticks out. So I think he probably has talents to do certain jobs very well. Yeah. But it's very interesting that he's slagged himself off.
Now, I think part of it is because of the difference between governing and campaigning. Let me just see, because
What, are you looking up the difference between governing and campaigning?
Well, I'm obviously going to get the Oxford Dictionary definitions of both before I make a point.
Let me just double check that before I
campaigning versus governing is... Actually, you know what? I think I've got a redundant point here. Anyway, moving on. No, because that's just my last point that I want to end on with it, but I want to check out.
It is like you're at the select committee.
Yeah, it is. one moment, please, Mr. Cummings. Let me just... just one. There was also an
they had loo breaks?
Not enough.
Okay.
Well, as in, like, he went for... There was for 7 hours, he had one break of 15 minutes and then one break of 45 minutes.
Do you think he took a shit?
In the 45-minute break? Right?
Or in the whole 7 hour period?
I bloody hope so.
Because he's probably nervous.
Yeah.
So he probably did it before.
Yeah.
But I don't
we'll
think
reach out for comment.
Dominic Cummings, no comment. Okay.
Okay.
We're closing up the door now. You've unleashed the box, but you don't want to tell us. Chase him outside his home. Did you?
Did you or did you not poo during the select committee? Tell us now. Why are you hiding the question, Dominic? Concerned about your stool?
So, just because we'll wrap it up. I just want to know how long.
Yeah. Sorry, we can keep going.
Well, yeah, okay. So yeah, because there was crazy. It was lit. This is the thick of it. It's the thick of it, and most of what the subsequent reporting have been is that Andrew Kirwan's master dissertation on the thick of it was correct.
Sure.
That's been the big headline out of it.
That's what everyone's talking about.
How did he know? How did he know the truth?
Tell them your dissertation headline.
Oh God, I can't remember it. It was.
How did he know?
How did he know? How do I know? A 10,000 word essay on how I know the answers. No, it was.
Why? 20 marks.
The truth.
Why?
20 marks. No, what was it? It was
laughing.
What's this phrase? Why laughing or learning? Are you laughing?
Live, laugh, love.
No, not.
If you're not laughing, you're learning.
If you're not laughing, you're learning. That was the And I did an analysis of the thick of it.
If you're not laughing, you're learning.
If you're not laughing, you're learning, and it was about satire and political discourse.
Okay, because normally
and my other one was on faith schools, and it was preaching to the choir.
Yeah. Didn't do that well, that one, did it?
No. Because most of my work went into the title. There was one day, there was a big day in government history. Government. And it's a day that technically goes down in the ages.
Sure.
So they weren't taking coronavirus seriously. And there was one day where they had scheduled to take it seriously.
Or in the diary?
Basically, they were going to
dedicate
a day. It was still before it washed up. No, it was. I think it already washed up because this is when we were fucking around with herd immunity for a bit. But there was one day they were like, right, we're going to sit down, we're going to work this shit out. However, on that day, Trump rang them saying, we want to bomb the Middle East. Can you come and join us?
No, it ran them in the middle of the night. I remember that was, he said in the middle of the night. That was something that he said. I remember.
Boris, just a thought. Hey, Boris. Just a thought. You want to bomb Iraq with me like a few weeks' time? So that happened that derailed some of it. So like 50% of resources are going to working out whether they're going to bomb Iraq, and 50% are going to work out what they're going to do about coronavirus. However, there was a third thing. The third thing that derailed our government's response to coronavirus was that there was a article in the Times about Boris Johnson's girlfriend and her dog. And Boris Johnson's girlfriend got really upset about this and insisted that part of the government team, focus on the response to that story. So he said there were 3 factions of Westminster running about trying to work out whether they're going to bomb Iraq, what we're going to do about the coronavirus, and what are our opinions on Boris Johnson's girlfriend's dog. She's come out mental in all of this.
I just imagine just throwing papers everywhere. Are we going to bomb Iraq? But what about the dog?
What about the dog? She's come out ridiculous in all of this because she's been having, apparently she has influence. She's been she hates Cummings. So, that might go into this a bit. But she's been trying to kick him out for ages. And she's been trying to get her friends. He's stated she's been trying to get her friends, and successfully getting some of her friends from business into her friends from the political world into key positions in the government because of her sway on Johnson. This is fucking mental.
So I think the takeaway from that bit was, in general, the picture Cummings was painting was of babbling white straight men fucking it up, who have a lot of privilege and have managed to get into positions not on their worth, but because of just a lot of privilege. The statement was men are bad, but then it was like, but women will always be worse.
I think, although
that was the point he was making.
Although Cummings didn't say it.
Though men are bad, women will always be worse.
Just a bit worse. I know men are fucking up everything in power. But they're not she complained about a dog at a time of national crisis. So
it's best of a bad situation, you know.
But so that I just love. That is literally a scene lifted from the thick of it, of those 3 things happening in a day, and then so there was just all of that. I mean, there's so much more we could go into.
Please, let's go.
Okay, but then I mean, it's just like this. What is just the most astonishing thing is. The one, I think, in summary, the lack of plans involved in it, the lack of actual, genuine theorising of what we're going to do, and a genuine structure and plan in place in order to combat something that is a very likely case. And everyone, he also mentioned Bill Gates like 50 times. Whenever he thought he was trying to think of a great man, he just said Bill Gates.
Really?
He basically said if Bill Gates was running it, it would all be fine. Because I think he was trying to compare to people who he sees as industry titans or philanthropists or something.
So he wants kind of like James Dyson or someone to be
I believe so.
Yeah.
But he didn't, because he used that example a lot. Again, he was there for 7 hours. But he could have thought of a different maverick or kind of entrepreneur like James Dyson. But honestly, if you look back, the amount of times he said crackers and Bill Gates were off-putting.
It was crackers. Yeah,
Crackers was amazing, but Bill Gates was just kind of
It's
odd.
strange because every time you mention Bill Gates now, there's just something weird going on. Because there's like a feeling of like, yes, he's a very smart man, but and yes, he's done a lot of charity work, but people who are that rich and do that much charity, there's something creepy about them. And we don't. I mean, I don't know how much to believe the kind of talk about Bill Gates is trying to like euthanize like half of Africa, because it's like I know he's trying to put clean toilets in there, but there's a lot of people who like to imply that he's got like this the sinisterness of undertones of what he's doing just seem almost too evil.
Yeah,
it's kind of like too evil to be true at all. Because do you know what I mean? He's like a big believer in vaccines because he wants to like
Put chips in people.
Or put chips. No, I think it's to stop poor people in Africa giving birth to more people so they can control the population or something. That's what they think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with any kind of gross power that you get, you're going to get a certain amount of conspiracy theories that go against it.
Also, he fucked his secretary, apparently. That's why the divorce happened.
That was the reason for the divorce.
Apparently.
He doesn't look like a guy who would fuck his secretary. He looks like he is the most vanilla sex man on the planet.
I watched
He still wears his sweater vest. He refuses to take his pants off.
And he has a lardy ass.
Oh, God, it's flabby, isn't it?
He's got like a bubbly body.
And a bit grey.
He looks like a kind of librarian sort of waddling between the shelves.
Yeah.
I watched Building Bill's Brain. Which is the Netflix.
Was a hit, wasn't it?
It was a series of Netflix things that was so much pampering Bill's. It was all just about how extraordinary clever Bill is, and then Bill would sit down for a talking head and go, "Yeah, well, I'm clever."
I'm Bill.
Yes, I am kind of smarter than everyone else.
I'll do it.
And what he reads like 10 books a week or something absolutely mental, and then he has this.
You know what? I never believe shit like that. I don't think he does.
Do you not think so?
I don't think he fucking does. I think he's a fucking liar.
There was a video of him reading. It looked quite fast.
Was there evidence of him reading for like 20 seconds?
Like this.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I can kind of skim read, but actually take it all in, which is kind of important.
And he had this big
10 books. Yeah, but how big? Like what? 10 fucking pamphlets?
No. Like because he's traveling everywhere. His secretary, or maybe that's the one he fucked. Had this kind of big sort of giant tote bag, which was just filled with books, and he'd take that everywhere, and it was like
actually full of sex.
It must have been. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's what happened.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Okay, all they were just like dirty mags, titty bags.
I can read them so
I read
quick.
about 10 books a week.
Yeah,
nuts, hustler.
But he's just going. He's not stopping.
Yeah.
He's just racing through.
Yeah. One done.
Not enjoying any of
No
them.
sexual enjoyment.
Just reading the articles, reading all the little tidbits in the articles.
Amy from Kent likes to play basketball on the weekend. Okay.
Put microchips in people.
Yeah, I mean, but Cummings was big on Bill.
That's what's weird about Cummings is that, there's me politically, then there's me comedically, and that's always been a clash politically because I have a lot of affinities to Trump. There's some understanding of the funniness of Cummings. It happens as well. So it is a kind of seesaw when he does things that I'm like, that is a bit of fun.
Two things.
But there are some things that annoy me, like when he says Bill Gates, that pisses me off. That's not cool.
And
you're
thinking apolitically here as well, aren't you?
Because that's the
purely
kind of
personality.
Sure.
Which I completely agree on.
Yeah.
Two things. Title for Dominic Cummings' autobiography, Cummings and Goings.
Okay, that's solid.
Because he got fired and hired a lot as well.
I mean, I can't imagine a better title.
Neither can I. So I'll fuck it. I'll do a biography of him. I've just watched 7 hours of him, but I'll just do that 7 hours. The Cummings and Goings of Dominic Cummings.
But he's already chose that name.
No, I chose it.
Oh, is that your name?
Yeah, no, that was me.
Oh, I thought you were saying reasons why he's likable.
No, I just made that up there.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Thank you.
That's absolutely brilliant.
It's really good.
That's really nice.
It's really good. Really excellent.
Do you know what this is like? This is like on Blue Peter when someone's come and shown their birdhouse. Wow, that's so good that you...
So I made it at home. I didn't have a lot of materials.
Wow.
But I really tried my best.
Isn't that amazing?
Do you think, really?
Isn't that amazing? Right, we're going to have to cut to ads now.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Can I get my badge yet?
Cummings and Goings, that was the first thing.
Brilliant.
Now, the second thing is I've forgotten it.
Cool.
It was...
You just had a great moment.
Ooh,
Always
Cummings,
followed by your sort of mild amnesia.
Because now my mind went to Blue Peter, and I was thinking about Blue Peter.
Get your mind out the gutter.
What were we just talking about?
Bill Gates, personalities. Is this another thing about Cummings?
Yeah. There was something about him. There was 2 things about Cummings. The first point was just a little fun bit until I got into the actual point. But it's gone.
Well, because I found watching it was like, this is going to be probably talked about in an Adam Curtis documentary, because it was like, what was so strange about it was that it's interesting this proceeded kind of before we knew who Dominic Cummings was. The Benedict Cumberbatch film about him. That came out before we knew who Dominic Cummings was.
Really,
no one knew who he was, apart from if you were in
vaguely
the industry.
Brexit.
Then Benedict came in,
if you're
and
part of
it definitely built up him getting back into thing. I reckon so.
Do you reckon?
It framed him in a very likable
Maverick genius
type thing. Yes, but what was so fascinating is that he's clearly, the thing he understands better than anything is media and how people think, and he's that's what you can argue he's a genius at that, about the way that he kind of realised something about the Leave campaign that a lot of experts missed. But what was fascinating is him talking openly in an official High Court of Law to the Select Committee about how the media's a scam. Yeah. Being the guy who manipulates the media. Don't trust it. And he's just talking about that so openly.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like this weird hyper reality where we all consume media. We're all shaped by it. But even the people who are lying to us are telling us they are lying to us. Exactly. And that's exactly what Alan Curtis said. It was like, we know that the bankers in 2008, a lot of them did crimes that they haven't been punished for. We all know that, but we don't really know what to do, because it's just like, we all know, and we all know that politicians lie to us, and they know that we know that they're lying to us, and they do it anyway, and it's become this weird, they're not even manipulating us anymore. We're just both in this mutual bond.
It's a self-destroyed circle of destruction.
Exactly. And then what's this, following Labour's catastrophic loss in the elections, is kind of what is sort of hopeless about this, is that there was a weird, amongst Conservative voices or commentators or politicians, there's this weird sort of, what's so embarrassing, which is probably the most hurtful thing about the failure of the left, especially under Starmer, has been like the way that the right are now sort of bored of winning.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, there's something where they want a bit more of a challenge. And it's like almost like the Conservatives are these sort of like public school boys who love a bit of old rugger. Yeah. And they're like, they go really intense at it.
That can be my band word of the week.
Rugger, yeah. You know, and they go really intense to the sport. And then it's like they're beating the other team so badly. They're like, I mean, I didn't mean to.
Well, not that bad.
I don't want, come on, you can put up a bit of a fight. This is like, you know, and it's just like, because to them, it's like they feel like, I don't know if I can be trusted having a carte blanche just to do everything. I wouldn't love a bit of
dialogue.
And that's what's so... And even like, because it's like we weren't expected to be in power this long, just consistently unchallenged.
And they're surprised by it. And fundamentally, this is going to be the concluding point of it, because I agree. And you find our political... And what he also said in this was that... after he said that basically it was crackers that him and Johnson ended up in the positions that they were in, it is very clear that we're in a completely broke political system when our two choices in an election are Boris Johnson or Jeremy Corbyn, which is interesting just because that was kind of an apolitical statement in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you think about Corbyn, whatever. But... what a big thing that he was saying in that.
People hate Corbyn so much.
I know, I don't.
I still don't
understand why.
I don't fully get it. They just hate him so much.
So, sorry, I just thought there was another point about the media thing you were just saying, but look, we've done enough time on it, so let's finish this up. I think during some of his statements, he was saying that he stayed away from the PR when he kind of got in when they won the election. So. He is, I believe, probably a genius in terms of PR and media relations when there's a campaign happening. So he was used to trying to win the Brexit vote and then trying to get Johnson into office. That was the time when he had the most influence because that's what he was best at.
Yeah.
But when he took on the role of senior advisor to him, he's now got to not be a campaigner. He's got to be a governor. You're now in government and you've got to be ready to do shit. And apparently he says that I think was the most interesting thing about it is because we said this before in the podcast as well, is which again, how did we know? How the fuck did we know? Just a couple of lads from Brighton up here calling the shots.
Lewis.
Listen to everything we say. Yeah, but some West Sussex.
East Sussex.
Well, I've lived everywhere.
Within West and East Sussex.
You know what? Let's focus on that point.
Sorry.
Forget about my scathing review. That was my concluding thoughts. Actually, we're not technically both from Brighton. I mean, I know you lived in Hove for a year or so, but like it's generally the more East and Sussex area.
Between West and East Sussex.
Betwixt the counties. We lived near there. We lived near there. We're not from there. I wouldn't say
You're not Brightonian,
but we've been there.
Culturally, I think.
I'm 20 minutes on the train.
We're influenced heavily by Brighton culture.
Sure. And that's the end of my point.
Sorry.
The fact that, although we're not...
Two boys from
in
Lewis Hayward
conclusion-
Heath
in
lived
conclusion-
around East and West Sussex.
In conclusion to some of the biggest political news that's happened ever, me and Horatio are not technically from Brighton, but we're heavily influenced by the area. Thanks for listening. Good night. So, in that...
Just two boys from Brighton.
Just two boys from Brighton. Still, the question remains, how did they know? But there is, in this thing, he said, so after, I believe, the biggest, and it's a realization of our current political system, is that we elect people based on their ability to do good PR and their ability to dictate a narrative or respond to a negative narrative, and how it's all about a completely false image of who someone actually is as a person and what their politics are. It's all a fake world that happens in our discourse, which is a fancy way of saying the conversation we have in our media and just around the entire country.
Which is a fancy way of saying just chatting. I'm sort of the casual one of the group.
I like that. I like that. I'm not even annoyed at that one. That's funny.
I think you could just keep saying it's just a fancy way.
It's just a fancy way of saying just nattering, having a natter.
It's a fancy way of just having a blob.
It's just a fancy way of saying. But so we have. This is such a key This is such a key case study of what this podcast is. Trying to kind of debunk all of these British political lies,
but not caring enough.
But also going
because we care a bit, but not enough.
Not quite enough. Because if it's funny, it's funny.
That's more important.
But so we now have a system where we elect people that are good at media and good at PR.
Yeah.
And something that Cummings said within that, in his testimony, was that him and Johnson had a big disagreement. So he said stop doing the PR side of it. Because the media-facing side of it. He stopped doing that because they had a disagreement where Cummings was saying that he wanted a complete overhaul of how Number 10 works and how the British political apparatus works, of instead of making everything about how we're going to respond to things in the media, actually kind of start to focus how we can be the best government, how we can do like better decision making, how we can improve and streamline our decision making processes.
Yeah.
He said that Boris Johnson's every day is waking up, reading at the newspapers, going like that, testing the wind. He literally did that. Testing
but
the
that's
wind.
metaphorical.
Yeah. He does. Well, reading the newspapers and then
You're saying that
would be amazing. You know what Boris Johnson does every morning? He reads the newspapers and licks his finger. I don't know why, but he does it. Yeah, of course it's a metaphorical. Okay. That didn't need to be.
Because all of this stuff's been about how they're even dumber than we thought. So it's like all of these satires and metaphors.
You know what Bojo does in the morning? He gets the papers and he shows them up his bum.
What, really?
Yeah. I mean, he's mental to me, but he does.
Metaphorically, or
no. He lifts him, shoves him up his bum, shows him up his bum. Inexplicable why, but he does it.
Okay, so go ahead.
So he gets up in the morning and his day is determined by what's in the papers, and therefore how am I going to create a certain narrative in order to maintain power. We live in a system where the maintenance of power is more important than the use of that power for any kind of moral or achievable ends.
The future is dead. We have no concept of the future.
I'm really quiet and polite when you make your serious points.
Sorry. No, that was me being serious.
What's
that was me.
Okay.
We have no concept. The future is dead.
The
future is dead. Mark Fisher, come on.
So it's interesting to hear that. So he moved away from that because he said that Boris Johnson has the opposite opinion to that, and all he does, all his focus is on is how he's looked in the media and how he's been presented in the virtual image of politics rather than the practical image of politics. Boris Johnson is one of the most successful politicians in a while in terms of popularity.
Yeah.
We elect and live in a system where it is only based purely on abstract notions of popularity.
Yeah.
And hearing someone who is a chief advisor and has been in the genuine apparatus of politics, around the closed tables of decision making, saying that it's going to be almost impossible to change that culture. Almost impossible because there are so many people entrenched and dug into it. And one of the reasons he was kind of booted out and a lot of his team were booted out was because of maybe trying to change that.
Yeah.
Which is a terrifying thought.
Because it's interesting when people say, and there's no way of changing it.
Yeah.
I always find that quite interesting because it's like, we could argue this sort of media PR was started by Bernays.
Properly Blair.
But no, I mean, the industry of PR started in New York in America in the 30s, whatever. That's like a 70-year period building up to where we are now as a consistent line. That's happened in like a 70-year period. In 200 years...
Yeah, I know, but that's... No, exactly. No, of course. But so he wasn't saying it's impossible to do. He's saying that he and a few other people believe... There's quite a few people around the power structures that believe this should change, but it's just so hard to do. Because that's kind of what he was trying to say. And again, it's hard to testify how legitimate those thoughts are. But
it's completely true, because it's like... If you're going to have a conservative force who, if they're in opposition, they might be able to take more noble stances of like defending kind of tradition and, just national pride and stuff like that. Once they're in power for such a long time, a lot of those things fall through, as they would do with left-wing governments as well. If a left-wing government's in power for 15 years, a lot of their ideas start falling through. But because we're sort of stuck like on pause, as Mark Fisher says, the 21st century is just the 20th century on higher speed internet. Basically, it's just repeating the same stuff.
Okay.
If you take a maybe fairly reductive view that the progressive is looking to the future and conservative is trying to preserve the good from the past, we don't have a concept of the future because there isn't really an idea of what the future is. So that's why this is happening on repeat, because conservatives who are good at winning and good at kind of like those sort of things, there's no new ideas, because the people who are doing new ideas, we don't know what to think. And that's why, as we've seen with the mess of both Corbyn followed by Starmer, we don't really have any sort of new ideas. Because Corbyn, who I like, was sort of a weird like pastiche of 70s politics. Do you know what I mean?
But that's exactly it, because even if we're doing the reductive view, which is a fair one, of making the left as progressive and the right as kind of traditional. Yeah. But the problem is that there's been, ever since the Cold War and kind of communist Russia, what's happened is there's been an association between any kind of progressive left-wing politics with communist state basically state in gulags. Yeah. And the problem is, so even that left-wing ideas can never... It's so hard to make them look progressive in a media sense, because people are just going to shout Red Russia at people.
It's true. But then also, I think, personally, for where I see the future, I like Sanders and Corbyn. I like them both as politicians in my lifetime of people who I've connected with. But I don't think they're the answer. They're both crusty old white dudes who I think have a good half, especially Sanders. But they're still stuck in the fights of the past, and those aren't really relevant.
But these politics but the point of this as well is just like a genuine political ideology is becoming less and less relevant.
But that's what I mean. We need a sort of the future for the left. There needs to be that kind of. This is why I was sort of quite interested in like Andrew Yang, the Boys Gone Wild party.
I think we're the future.
Well, we could run for mayor, and that's not even a joke. Not even easily. A joke. We could do the.
Do you reckon there's any chance that two people can run under the same name? Because this is what I've discussed with Adam.
Andrew Gerwin.
Andrew Gerwin. And we just take turns.
Or Horatio Hall.
Horatio Hall.
Was it Horatio? No,
because that's just your name. That's just a spoonerism of your name. Actually, let's go with Horatio Hall. I like the ring of that a bit more. Yeah, you're a fucking narcissist. No, Andrew Gerwin has always been
it's Andrew Gerwin,
our pseudonym.
Yeah.
But because me and Adam have had the idea.
Because it'd be Horatio. It'd be Horatio Cooled.
Again, that's just your name in a silly voice.
No, Horatio Cooled.
Yeah, you didn't say that.
AK.
You just Horatio Cooled. Fucking mental. No, because me and Adam have had the idea of doing this more of because I've had a few events that I've gone to without him and vice versa. So we thought if one of us couldn't be bothered, the other just goes in their clothes and wears a wig, but just insists that it's them. It's the other
carries
person.
On insistently.
As in, like, guys, I'm actually getting a bit fed up with you saying I'm not me.
Okay.
Even though I'm appearing as Adam,
do you think we would
as me? So we
run
would
as one person
and
then keep clearly being different people
for different speeches? Well, can you address the claim that you're two people?
Really bad.
We don't want to play politics. I don't want to play politics.
The British public are sick of playing
politics. I am about policies. Pure, cold policies.
What are the policies? People are sick of policies.
People are sick of policies as well. The British government are sick of everything.
What they want is us in power.
All they want is not to be shown with the things that they're sick of. And we won't rest until they are not presented with the things that they are sick of. What's your opinion on immigration? People are sick of the discourse surrounding immigration. And I am here to stop that sickness. There's a sickness in our country.
It cuts 10 years later. I'm in the select committee. I'm going to be honest. I don't think either of us were qualified.
I think if you took the top 99% of competency, they'd be better qualified than us.
Both of us sat in. We take the wig off and we're like, okay,
It was two
we're going to be.
And
everyone's like,
we knew, but we didn't know. And then
it didn't surprise me, but to hear it.
And then there'll be a different Boys Gone Wild podcast talking that now they've just brought everything out that everyone already knew, but someone on the inside is saying it. It was two of them.
The future's repeating itself.
Future's repeating
God,
itself.
that would be amazing. If we ran, we get into public, we fuck up a pandemic or something, and then we come out and go, all right, we're going to be honest.
There was two of us.
But mainly, I don't feel we were qualified.
Neither of us knew what we were doing. It started off as a joke from a podcast, and it got
out of hand.
It garnered unexplainable success.
And then people on podcasts would be like, I kind of like the honesty.
Yeah. Get them back in power. And we guys, we really can't be in power. We have killed hundreds of thousands of people. Please don't put us back.
Because that's I'm liking Dominic Cummings. Every cloud.
We might be in a dark political day, but look what it's going to bore.
Exactly. And it's
bear, give birth to.
Yeah. But because that's the thing about Dominic Cummings as well, is that like seeing him be that honest and frank was refreshing and makes it likable. But he's honest and frank about how like his incompetence along with his colleagues caused
hundreds of thousands.
And I'm like, I like the honesty.
Yeah. Exactly. That's where we're broken. We're all fucking broken.
Wow, he's so honest.
Isn't that great? Isn't that really just refreshing to hear? Isn't it? Well, you don't hear that every day at the select committee.
But then that's also because all of the MPs on the committee were like thanking him pretty profusely at the end for for staying there for so long, because he was clearly there to drop some bombs. But his frankness, openness, and honesty. Because I always think that for like whenever politicians go into that, they have to swear an oath, to be honest. And that is clearly just fucking for show. There is no kind of credence or truth in that, because that shows that the select committee expect for people to be evasive, expect for them to not be told the truth and to be lied to. And that's why this was such a big event, because someone actually just went in and seemingly just told the fucking truth.
Terrifying. It's terrifying. I just remembered that I saw, I think it was a TikTok ages ago, which was talking about psychology of clothes. And they said like it's common literature that wearing white is what you should wear when you're asking for forgiveness.
It's like surrender, waving the white flag.
Yeah, he was wearing just white, no tie, just the white thing.
Well, he did go. He went in there. He did
no jacket. No. It was just pure white.
It wasn't a woe is me, forgive me, for I have sinned, Father.
It was a thing of forgive me.
He opened up with an apology.
Forgive me.
I want to get this off my chest quickly. Someone at work.
I'm sorry, I thought you were doing Dominic Cummings.
No.
That was
I got something to my chest.
Let's cut all this shit, okay?
Come on, put your feet up, relax. Come on. We're all human. We're all humans. Lights up a cigarette. Think about government.
Jack Grealish. He's like Jack Grealish.
Yeah, no, you're bang on. More from him. No. Someone at my work posted on Slack, which is it's basically like a boring Facebook for work. Posted on Slack saying that he posted just as it started, and I typed in Cummings on Slack to see if anyone was talking about it, because I wanted to just look. And he posted something. He said, this is like textbook getting away with lying about something. This is the 3 things that you need to do. This is like the holy trinity of lying. Then he said a quote, and the quote was, I'd like to apologise to all the...
Was this about the Cummings thing?
Yeah. I'd like to apologise to all the families that have been bereaved by COVID for the mistakes that were made. And he went, that's the holy trinity of how to do it. Firstly, he says he'd like to apologise. He didn't actually apologise. Fuck off. Okay. He just did, and he also apologised several times after it. Mm-hmm. Second part was... Second part, I'd like to... I'm going to fucking get it up.
Get it up.
I mean, I read this and I wanted to jump in the discourse, but what happens, because There's so many points I want to make on this. When we live in like this kind of new tech age work structures, everyone's so gassed about each other's fucking cats that they own and all the pets, and it's like, oh, show me your cat. Isn't that lovely? And if you don't, I have a choice to either my personality is to take the piss out of that, call everyone losers, and then leave. Yeah. Or just be a bit more critical than, oh my God, yeah. Yeah, sure. That's all it is. Yeah. But then, so I either have to be in silence, or if I do say what I think, it's interpreted as rude. So what happens in this new modern, but it's not
startup culture.
Startup culture is I'm silenced, and anyone that has any kind of idea what comedy.
So you saying you're the Dominic Cummings of
oh my God,
your unnamed company?
That's why I watched it for
That's
7
why
hours.
You connected with it.
I am the Dominic Cummings of my unnamed. I am the Dominic. I'm the whistleblower.
Yeah.
Hold on. So. Maybe this, but I feel like this sums up some of the problems with the left in their responses to it, in a sense that it's basically bullshit.
Yeah.
So if you want a masterclass in how to use words to look like you're saying a lot when you're actually saying nothing, Dominic Cummings this morning. I'd like to apologise to the families of loved ones who died unnecessarily for the mistakes that were made. It's the Holy Trinity. He'd like to apologise, but technically he didn't. He says died unnecessarily, implying that some deaths were in fact necessary. It's a global pandemic. Some people are going to fucking die, and it's really sad. But it doesn't mean they're necessary. It means they're inevitable.
I would say super sad, but that's just me.
Yeah, because you have better empathy than me. I've never denied that. And then the last of the Holy Trinity, he says mistakes were made. By who? Takes no responsibility for that. He said for 7 hours and went in on it. But that's the problem with people, the less response to it. It's like, I've always been a secret, I've always kind of had a soft spot for Dominic Cummings. Mm-hmm. I've liked him. Just because he's a bit of a maverick, we've enjoyed that, obviously. But there's a problem of just because he was involved in Brexit and because he's on the right wing of the political spectrum in terms of the people he works with and everything.
And his beliefs.
Sure. Sure. But then everything...
It's not exactly Red Robbo working in.
No, he's not. Of course. But then that means that anything... today, he could be a massive change in how we approach politics in the future, as in a kind of whistleblower-esque character. Yeah. That is taking some fucking pretty significant risks to blow the roof off something. And so often you just see the left respond, we shouldn't be blowing a whistle. He blows so much air out of the whistle that the roof comes off.
Something like that.
Exactly. But he's done that. And this is not a time to play this bullshit party politics. The whole point of his thing was he was an anti-Tory in that point, saying that the Prime Minister and the leader of the Conservative Party and the Health Secretary.
That's exactly what that's what I found interesting. Is because there was the attacks on the individuals, but I did feel that, which is what's so frustrating about how it's getting so divided, that if it's on the wrong team, you can't take anything and say that's all slightly good, but. It feels like a lot of the criticisms he was having were about the mechanics of government and the civil service, just everything of how the government works. And when a new government comes in, the civil service and the mechanics and the kind of general structure stay the same. Yeah. And so that's still an issue that is beyond party politics. And he was saying a lot of fairly, to me, seemed relatively practical things about making what government work more efficiently. And yes, I might disagree with him on values or politics, but does that mean that?
But why are we disregarding someone who has literally been on the table, sitting round the table for the most? He was sitting on it. I mean, he was sitting on the table.
That's why he's not.
That's why he's not fit for it. It's weird. I don't know why they let me do it. I don't know why they let me.
And he sat with his feet up, and he was spinning around.
He was spinning around on a lazy Susan.
People are dying, Dominic.
People are dying. I know, but I have to sit on this. I know I'm not good for this job. I'm not qualified. But if the pathetic nature of a left-wing response like that, of because it's Dominic Cummings speaking and he's in the Conservative Party, that therefore means that he doesn't have anything to say on the apparatus of government, and he didn't just blow the fucking roof of everything that happens within it. Yeah, and it's pathetic.
Yeah, so I think our general view is. Vote Tories.
Yep. The Conservatives are our way forward.
The only solution
in order to move forward
to this mess,
we have to look
vote
Tories. Or us.
They need to go in again. The only person who can clear up Boris Johnson's mess is Boris Johnson.
It's Boris Johnson. Give the man another chance. He just needs more time.
Great. Do you anything else to add?
Yeah, I want to do my Harry Potter skip.
Oh yeah, okay. We'll finish on Andrew's Harry Potter skit. Is it a skit or a sketch?
It's a skit. Right, Ron and...
Skit. It's
Ron,
a skit.
It's a skit. Ron and Harry are in the cave, in a cave.
In a cave or the cave?
In a cave.
In a cave.
Trying to find some of Voldemort's Horcruxes.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Harry, this is Harry. Harry's first, and it's Ron. Harry goes, Accio whore! Ron goes, Harry, it's Horcrux, not whore. I know what I'm doing, Ron!
Have you got? That's
it.
There's not the clear. There's a clear punchline
What?
that like Hermione appears.
Oh yeah. No.
Or someone.
No, you just made it
or
gross.
Miss McGonagall.
You just made it gross.
Or Miss McGonagall.
No, the punchline.
You said Accio whore.
Accio whore, and Ron says, Harry, you made a mistake, and he goes, I know what I'm doing, Ron. That's the end of it. We don't have to degrade women.
No.
This is every time we
But
try
you
and
said
write,
Accio.
every time we try and write something, it's what woman can we call a whore? There's nothing about that.
You said Accio whore. So Accio's the spell to like.
I'll do it again. Accio whore. Harry, it's Horcrux, not whore. I know what I'm doing, Ron.
Hermione.
Don't bring it. No, you don't have to name a whore.
Accio means
Because Harry just wanted to fuck.
why?
That's a great Accio whore, and Ron goes.
Why did he say
it's
whore?
Horcrux.
Because he wants someone.
He wants a whore. For fuck's sake.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I get that.
Harry wants a whore.
Does a whore come?
Yeah, a whore comes afterwards. So after he says Accio, it's like a 19th century
Sex
whore.
worker.
Yeah, a sex worker. But I have
Maybe
to
the
say
sketch
whore.
would be better if he goes Accio sex worker.
No, it's not. It's not better. It's not better because Ron has to think.
What are you doing?
Because Ron has to say, Harry, it's not. It's Horcrux, not whore. I know what I'm doing, Ron. And then a whore comes.
Yeah, but then I guess there's another joke if it's like Miss McGonagall.
There is another joke, but I wouldn't feel comfortable calling any.
But Miss
Any
McGonagall,
Harry
even
Potter.
Miss McGonagall.
Professor McGonagall, because she's the furthest away from a sex worker. So that it would be funny.
I don't know.
No, I think it ends with just Harry having passionate sex with a whore. So it's like
Okay.
it's like
Or Miss McGonagall.
or Miss McGonagall. But so that's like a 10-second skit, and then there's 15 minutes of Harry having sex with them.
Good. Thanks for listening, guys. Remember to subscribe to our Patreon. Like and subscribe. We haven't asked anyone to like and subscribe. It's fucking easy as shit if you're signed in. So if you're sitting and you're enjoying an hour's worth of content and you just don't drop a... I'm getting good at that. Where like, I'm like, you can
Absolutely.
absolutely, you can
From
have
me to
you can have that. Subscribe, we're near 1,000, and obviously comment reviews on iTunes. They're always good.
Comment your favourite food.
No, don't, because it's always much more boring.
Comment your favourite food, because we'd love to hear it. We'd really love to hear it.
What's your favourite?
What's your favourite dinner?
Thanks, guys.